Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I think this is a think tank. It's not a conference. This is where we come to open our minds to what's the future of HR? What's the future of the workforce? Because we need this time to start imagining and contemplating something new. So my name is Wagner Denuzzo. I was the head of leadership development and management development for IBM during Ginny Rometty's, the first female CEO at IBM, during her incredible transformation. And we had 38,000 managers. And it was critical for us to engage managers in a new experience. And we did it. It was all about moments of impact. The moments that are most defining in the experience of the employee with their managers and the company and the work that they do. So we already have some past history of what it's like to do something different. We didn't teach our managers on processes, programs, or policies, but we help managers get in touch with their emotional well-being, get in touch with witnessing others' emotions, without getting lost in it. And I give you this because this helps for everybody. Try not to try to rescue people. I know we're all engaged in helping people enhance their well-being. Try not to rescue them, because then you get lost, and then you get burned out. How many of our leaders are burned out right now? You know, how many people know how to set the boundaries between me and you and still be empathic, without losing myself in your emotions, your difficulties? Because can you imagine a manager trying to be connected to the emotions of 10 people and all the things that are happening right now? So this is very important. I led management development. We did an incredible work there, but I was a psychotherapist. I started as a psychotherapist, clinical social worker, and I think that's critical for HR of the future, to start getting in touch with human behavior and emotional development, because the emotional triggers is what's impacting the low performance of today. So let me see. I'm going to talk to you about some ideas that I have, because I've been doing future of work for 4 years. We implemented telemarketplace at Prudential Financial, where I stayed there for 4 years. In 2019, pre-pandemic. This was incredibly important. And talking about change, that's exactly what we did. Telemarketplaces are common now, right? But what we did, the first thing was educate everyone. Why do you need your resume to be reflective of your skills? The tenure at Prudential is about 10, 15 years. It's a company that's 150 years old. So of course we need to educate people. Why am I asking you to pay attention to skills? Why it's important to have a LinkedIn profile that's robust. And people ask, how do you want me to leave? No, I want you to be an ambassador of our company. Why do I need a digital presence? So we went through this whole process of educating people on how important it is for your own employability. Then we said, now I give you the tools. Then we introduced the telemarketplace tools. And we had about 85% adoption in the first year without being mandatory, which is unheard of, right? Everybody had their profiles in, because we asked the CEO, all his leaders, and everyone else to be part of this process of creating this as a language, skills. And then we did a study. That's important too. What is the impact? What impact we are having? We are having increased internal mobility, because now people see themselves going through other areas. And we found that manager adoption of the tool there was a positive correlation between manager use of the tool and their employees' utilization of the tool. So we proved to everyone that if managers believe in the tool, the platform, the AI-powered skills economy, their employees will do too. So you see how you create the loop. But you cannot implement something and say, hey, it's here, it's for you. You're not going to get adoption. People don't know why you're doing that for them, because that's, to your point, to them. So I don't have that much time, but I want to tell you about what's happening today. The context is our compass. I thought about this because we are missing context sometimes. I hear a lot about, like, we know practices, right? Everybody knows the best practices. If I ask you, what are the best practices in leadership? What is the best practices in HR? What is the best practices in management? Everybody has lists and lists, and you can ask ChatGPT, by the way. I'll tell you more about that. But we need to think about the context of your company. The context is so important. Have you thought about your strategic priorities? Do you very clearly can define your priorities, your purpose, and what's happening with your goals? Industry shifts. Josh Burson, I don't know how many people know him, but he talked about all these cross-functional industries. Walmart becoming a financial service provider. You know, others becoming healthcare providers, others becoming wellness. So the industries are interwoven, and there's a lot of that happening. Are you paying attention to that? Competitive landscape. Are you growing or you're disrupting? Because getting market share from your competitors is becoming very hard. You have to disrupt. And what is the exponential advantage that you can get from critical capabilities? We talk about this because it's so important. Organizational capabilities. Yes, financial reporting, analytics. Yeah, that's an organizational capability. But what is the critical capabilities that will give exponential advantage? For example, customer service. For us, a critical one for us is the omni-channel, frictionless customer experience. Can you, with all these businesses that we have, can we create a frictionless experience no matter what channel customers choose to connect with us? That's very hard to do. But that's critical because exponentially you get ahead of your competitors. Leadership readiness. Can I ask you, are your leaders ready for the future? I doubt it. Nobody's ready for the future. And that's okay. That's where the self-acceptance comes in. If you think about, mental health, well-being, what's happening in the world, the first thing you need to do is to accept your feelings about it, accept that you don't know enough, accept the realities that we have today, because then you can move forward, because we are all in this together. And self-acceptance is good for self-confidence. A lot of people talk about self-confidence as knowledge. Knowledge is not self-confidence. Knowledge is knowledge, is expertise. Self-confidence is knowing that you have the right to learn and you have the capability to learn. You might not know everything, but self-confidence comes from this disposition of being a learner. So leadership, if we erase everything that we hear about it, is about learning. Learning and co-creating. Workplace design, hybrid and flexible, of course, we need to do that. Skills and talent, digital ecosystems. And that's when it gets fun. But before that, I say this almost every day. Clarity creates capacity. Think about your employees. Think about yourselves. How long do you spend trying to perfect a PowerPoint for somebody that you don't know exactly what's expecting of you? How many times do you spend chit-chatting and gossiping about things that you don't understand in the workplace? How many hours do you spend trying to figure it out what really our senior leaders, our managers, and everyone, what is the real message here? Do you want us in or do you want us remote? What is the message? How many hours do we spend trying to figure it out, things that are not clear? So I tell our senior leaders, and we did this, clarity creates capacity. Now that you know the clarity in strategic priorities, you know the clarity about our ways forward, you become much more capable and you have more space to do the right thing. So I think this is really important. So the workforce. I've been doing this for 4 years, workforce, trying to understand. And I came up with the 5 Ds of the new workforce. They are distributed, we can't deny it, even if they are part of a hospitality. They are in different properties. They are in different places. The workforce is distributed. Walmart, yes, they're all there in person, but they have thousands and thousands of... How do you create consistency? So your workforce is distributed, but they are also dynamic. And that's what we are missing because we have wishful thinking, that if we say hi at the door, people are going to stay for dinner. They won't. They're going to stay for lunch and go. So, can we agree in HR that the life cycle of an employee is like the life cycle of skills? Remember that we talk about the half-life of skills is 3 to 5 years. And that's true. The skills shift and go, and they become obsolete. For employees, I don't think it's more than 3 years. You have to engage them in the first year to connect with your company. So connection is your number one priority in the first year. They sense a sense of belonging. You have them for 1 more year. The second year, offer them all the telemarketplaces, the learning, offer them what you promised them, the opportunity to grow. Remember, that's the number one driver of engagement. So let's make it happen. Then the third year is essential for us because most really high potentials live between 2 and 3 years across every industry almost. So you have now this chance to identify the top talent in that third year. But not only that, you have the opportunity to engage them in cross-functional work, gig economy, opportunities for mentoring, opportunities for things that really give this message. I'm paying attention to you, and I want you to stay here. Because when you identify the leadership pipeline, you have to start there. That's the leadership pipeline. On the third year, you have to do this. We lose a lot of talent on the third year because millennials start the trend, right? Don't stay for too long because you're going to get stale. Then came Gen Z. The world has changed. And now I saw a CEO in TikTok, not that I spend too much time there. But there was a CEO saying, look, one thing that I would do different in my life, and she was the CEO, is changing jobs frequently. Because that refreshes your skills, refreshes your ability to connect with different people, refreshes your capabilities as a human in an environment that's social, that's different. Think about that. How cool is that, isn't it? Actually, it's not a bad value proposition. Moving creates value. I won't say that to HR leaders, but I tell you here. So digital, why they are? They are digital. You can't escape. Teams, the platforms are many, and everybody's in them. So your leaders need to be digital. All the workforce is digital. So teach the digital dexterity to your people. It's going to be important. Diverse. That goes without saying. Just look at the demographics. Hispanics are going to be 2/3 of your workforce, and you're going to see like the diversity increasing exponentially because it is what it is. We are in a moment that finally we are thinking about diversity as part of the ingredients that make us a successful company. So diverse is the key. And not only diversity of race, ethnicity, diversity in neurodiversity, diversity in lifestyles, and sexual orientation too, but diversity in thoughts. A lot of people have different personalities and different thoughts. Some are introverts. It's harder for you to get to know their ideas. So as an employer, you need to pay attention to all of this. And discerning, I put there discerning because guess what? I think the workforce of the future is discerning. People are choosing where to go and how they want to work. So discerning is a critical one. But I want to focus on this because this is so important to me, and I think for all of us. When you think about the employee experience, think as a platform. Remember the digital, I'm much older than most of you, but I remember the digital transformation of IBM, the digital transformation of the early 2000s. Everything was like the business as a platform. Remember hearing that? The business is a platform. The employee experience as a platform might help you as well. Why? Because, again, clarity creates capacity. I just wrote an article and it was published today. How many of your employees really know where to find everything they need? Even you. Do you know where everything is, really? Because we have PDFs everywhere. We have SharePoint pages everywhere. We have ServiceNow, because ServiceNow is the promise that everything is going to be centralized, but it's one of the many channels. Workday, oh no, Workday is so easy. We go there and get everything done. So we have a multitude of channels to go to. Not only that, vendors change every year. Then the people who are managing those systems change all the time. Then you have attrition. Then you're lucky if you know somebody in the organization that knows where that document was. Or you go through your emails and find that communication. Remember the communication that came like 7 months ago, wasn't it? So you spend time doing those things. Think about this as creating clarity. Systems of record, we need them. But we need accurate data. You need to understand GDPR, of course. You need to understand privacy concerns. But you need to identify what are the critical records that you need for the architecture of your talent. What is the data that you need on your customers if you want to close this cycle as well? And create the APIs that work in connecting the dots. Because actually, to be honest, I don't know if we should lay all the eggs in one basket. Some people are doing that, and that's okay. Because I think things are going to evolve in small startups. I've been advising a lot of them. A lot of them are creating very cool stuff. And how about just being a pluralist, not just focus on one thing? Because you need APIs to connect the dots. That's life, by the way. Try not to pretend that life is not complex, because life is complex. Make it simple by creating APIs in your personal life. Systems of insight. Why is that important? Because we get confused. What is HR analytics? Ask everyone. HR partners are fed up because they don't know where to access. Nobody teaches them. And then we ask them, you should be savvy. Create the systems. What are the Tableau dashboards that you might have readily available? What are the, we use Vizier. What is the systems of insights that gives you what you are looking for? Trends in attrition, trends in skills. All this is really important for HR partners and everybody to know. But you need a system of insight that's cohesive. Don't forget the hypothesis. What we miss is hypothesis. Knowing what you know, what is the hypothesis that you might create, and then seek the insights about. I think hypotheses are really important. Then design the talent strategy and organize your tools for insights, because a talent strategy has to be dynamic, and I tell you in a second. Systems of engagement, that's the platform. Intranets don't do it, right? We think, oh, internet, everything is there. The news from the company, announcements, yes. But how many companies have the intranet as the highest visited platform? Not many, because people go there, oh, yeah, it's the same announcements, the same things. You need to create a system of engagement with employees where they know where to go for everything. Imagine a place like that. Oh, yeah, I go here, I see what's happening here, my actions in your workday, whatever. I see here what's happening with my team. I see here my skills. Imagine a place where they can go and see everything at once. I think that's the future. And human-centered design, because connections, conversations, not models and frameworks. I'm tired of frameworks and models, even though we need them. But it's more about conversations. We do team effectiveness with the conversations. Now, think about this. Look at this. Does it resonate with you? The leadership skills for a hybrid workforce? Do you see the source here? ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, right? We're all trying to figure it out. I asked ChatGPT, what might be the leadership skills for the hybrid workforce? Amazing, isn't it? I don't know if there's much left to say. Isn't it amazing? I did the same for well-being. How can we create a system in the workplace for well-being to be part of our daily lives? ChatGPT gave me a strategy with the 13 points that I showed the medical director, and he said, Wagner, this is better than ours. So we need to rely on things that have helped us create value. Don't stop here. This is just the basics. ChatGPT, the AI, machine learning, all the technology you have around you is to inform you and create the basis for you to create with your teams. So go further by thinking that co-creation is going to be the way forward, because distributed power for distributed teams, that's the essence of leadership. Our leaders are going to have to be comfortable with the idea that they need to share power to get the performance from the teams that they expect. I believe teams today is the unit of value. It's not the individual, it's teams, cross-functional teams. My team, for example, is a fungible team. Some people came from retirement, some people came from communications, finance, because you don't need HR skills to help organizations. What you need is the capability to connect, have the conversations, and figure it out by co-creating in a design thinking workshop. But you need some power. You need to feel that you have autonomy to make decisions when you go in and help a business. So our leaders have to start being more comfortable with distributed power, because the teams are going to be successful if they do self-management. And that goes for HR too, because we do need to reduce the friction. I love this because it's the picture and it says liar, right? There are different ways of seeing things. Some people see a face, some people read liar. And I tell leaders, I don't know if you agree with me, don't underestimate the intelligence of your employees. Didn't you hire them? Don't you hire the best? Don't underestimate their intelligence, because they see through what people are calling now gaslighting. You tell me this, you're flexible, but you're telling me to come to the work. You're telling me this, but then you do this. So you see layoffs, you see all this. It's very contradictory what's happening. So if you have transparency, there is tensions, but tensions promote growth. Friction is low performance, because friction usually is not talked about. It's just friction. Ease of doing business for your company. Think about that. That's our new metric. It's not engagement. Ease of doing business for my company and my company. How easy it is to get the work done. How easy it is to get things done. That's a great measure to start assessing. And finally, the dynamic talent strategy. A frictionless employee experience is focused on well-being and clarity. Think about this. People do have these skills. They know how to engage in teams, but they need clarity of purpose, and well-being should be something that you do every day. Well-being should be part of every dialogue and message. So the employee experience relies on that. Manager capability, more than micromanaging, more than anything, I would urge you to start helping managers move towards a coaching area, right? Think about this. They should be coaching for your career. They should be there when you need them to talk about things. They should be sensing what's happening in the teams and what's happening in the world of work, and start connecting the dots for their teams. So a manager becomes somewhat of a group therapist, not a therapist, of course, but you have to create the dialogue among your teams. You have to start these conversations. Managers' main role is to make you successful and develop your skills. So if the managers start doing that, instead of talking about what's your performance and talking about what's not working, what's working, I don't think that's the dialogue that people expect. People expect, hey, can you help me be even better than I am? That's the dialogue that needs to happen. Career management. Think about this. I don't know if you're there. We established that the principle of career management is you own it, but you have to grow your skills to advance and make an impact. It's simple as that. That's our philosophy at Prudential. But career management belongs to the individual, not us in HR. Give them the tools to learn, Udemy, all the platforms. Give them the tools to understand their skills. Empower them to take a different challenge in a new role. Tell them like, they don't need to stay in silos. They can try different things. But you have to teach managers as well. That's one thing that's important. Take talent, internal talent, that has 80% of the capabilities you expect of them, and then support them to be successful. That's how you advance diverse leaders. That's how you advance people to move from a career in here to go here and make a career much more fluid, because managers can help them on the job learning those 15% that they don't have from up front. So that's how we got 11 points increase in internal mobility, because we help managers understand, yeah, go for perfection out there. And by the way, you're asking for 150% of the skills that you need, because in fact, you use 80% of the skills, but you're asking for 150%. Get somebody who is already there, who is going to grow and is going to be excited about learning. Workforce planning, that's a big one. Skills and talent pools, but that's a whole new session, because the skills, how many of you got the skills thing right? I doubt it. Because I've been talking to so many people about skills. But I tell you this because I'm out of time. Start small. Start by, I give you this and you can repeat. Don't buy the library if you're just looking for the specific books to grow your business. We all seek the taxonomy. Oh, we need a taxonomy. Oh, yeah, try to do a taxonomy for all the jobs that you have, all the job families that you have, and be accurate about it, and then revise all the job descriptions that you have in your whole company. Try to do that. How long is it going to take it? Instead, focus on the critical roles, not hierarchically. What are the critical roles that are driving the most value for our companies? Could be somebody here, somebody there, a product owner here, somebody. But identify the roles. Start there. Identify the skills. Create a taxonomy that's flexible. That's how it's done, because then you create value and you show value. Talent development, analytics, internal mobility, that's what I'm talking about. They have the talent marketplaces. You should give the opportunity for people to do this, because analytics is very important for us to understand the employees. We need to segment them differently, because you need to segment them. And you need to see for what it is. Why you're assessing everything for everyone and making a mess. And to be honest, those analytic reports, people read, everybody commits to actions, and the business is not there. So we need to start being more congruent with the business, start where they are, but start sharing what is the critical knowledge that they need to know. It's usually about the critical roles that they're trying to build, the critical skills, and the organizational capabilities. I'm out of time, but be engaged in that is my other thing that I say, because the moment you start becoming emotionally attached to your ideas, programs, right? The other day I was reading, to start HR on the right track, start eliminating those programs. They are not getting traction. We are so enamored to our programs. We get attached to them. We don't let go. Emotional attachment is going to create confusion, first of all. So be engaged, fully engaged, but not attached emotionally. Because I love this. Isn't it cool? We are very reactive. But if you stop, there's that pause, and you have the opportunity to reflect on how to respond. And that's our power and our freedom. Thank you. I don't know if we have time for questions, do we? We do. Yeah. Questions? Yes?
You have a question.
It's actually a comment. That last quote, Viktor Frankl, that was a gentleman who lost his whole family, he was in the concentration camp. Man's Search for Meaning, I think is the book.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you've read it, I've read it, I think it was tremendous.
It's beautiful.
I want to check that book out.
So many life lessons in that book. Viktor Frankl is amazing. And he says also, when you see change and you don't see it happening, try to change it yourself, because that's all you have is yourself. Questions? You can be provocative. Tell me that this is all BS. That's fine. Any questions? Any question?
What was your biggest challenge at Prudential?
Oh, good question. The biggest, I tell you, is a failure. Yeah, because it's important to talk about failures. I got there, I was so excited about future of work. Nobody had that title. I left IBM because the title was so attractive. Head of Capabilities for Future of Work. This was in 2019, April 2019. I jumped, I said, of course I do it. I created teams, the first thing we did is, we need digital dexterity for everyone. Everybody needs to have digital skills. We partner with so-and-so, I'm not gonna tell you the company. We partner, we spend the money. We said it was the best thing after sliced bread. The senior leaders, some liked, some didn't. And it was a terrible failure. Nobody adopted. Because it was all these online things. Why do you need to understand AI? Why do you need to understand this and that, cloud-based development? It is critical, but it's the wrong timing. Why? Because we didn't do what I did with Talent Marketplace. You need to educate people. Why am I introducing this to you? Why this might be important to your own lives, personal and professional? We never did that. We just said, hey, here's digital dexterity for you. It's a great skill, it's a critical skill, you should learn it. Didn't work. We stopped in a month or two. Now, you see Udemy courses and everything, it's all digital dexterity stuff. But it was the wrong timing, and the change management didn't work. Thank you for that, because that was a big challenge. Anyone else? Yes, go
Here in
ahead.
the back, please ask the questions with the microphone so our digital attendees can hear them
yes.
as well. Thanks. I will cover the back of the room and Michelle the front of the room. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Very interesting. I have a question for you. With ChatGPT, it's a revolution because we have living in a world of words. So words inspire us. Through words, we can imagine new worlds, new scenarios, etc. Now with VR, virtual reality, that we're trying to give people the experience, the life experience, even though it's not real, it's kind of simulations. What do you think is the challenge for us in HR to create these experiences, either virtual or real, with case scenarios, case studies, in order to develop people and in order to give them the employee experience that they deserve? So they cannot imagine only, but they can have a real, if we can call it, experience.
Yes, no, I love that. I don't like to put every company in the same place because some companies are growing, some companies are having a hard time with their own industries. Large companies, let's talk about large companies, maybe global companies. VR establishes consistency for onboarding, for example. Accenture is doing onboarding with VR. And I saw it, it was amazing actually, because it's not all day, because you cannot bring people to do VR all day, it's just small chunks. And they learned about their practices. They learned about Accenture leaders. They learn about all this virtually at their own time. So the idea here is not because it's a new thing, is how can I make this be flexible with your own time? I'm not going to ask you to run the webinar for 2 hours. Everybody has to be there at 12 o'clock. Some people have to pick up children. Some people have other appointments. We make these statements as webinars for everyone. Yes, but then you have to listen to recordings. How many of you really listen to recordings? I don't know, some do. But VR is different. It's a much in the moment, but your experience at your own time. So I believe VR is about giving people the opportunity to decide for themselves when is the right time to immerse themselves in their experience. I think that's fabulous because it gives people autonomy. We need to think differently about this. But it doesn't replace connection. It's not about only communication, it's about connection. How do you create emotional connections with your people without the PDFs, without the how-tos? The other day at IBM, I remember this. When we launched the chatbot for managers, people said, oh, it's not going to work. It was the most successful thing. You know why? Because managers could ask the chatbot, it was really well done, and the answers would come right away. Because he said, I'm tired of asking HR partners for resources, and I come back with links. It's like service by links. HR provide the links to things. So that's different. You see what I mean? So we need to create a frictionless experience, no matter where they are, respecting their autonomy and flexibility in their personal lives, and yet we need to create the connections. But the connections is done through conversations. And that's when management development becomes really important, because what kind of conversations do you have? It's very different from each one. AI, I have to tell you this too. Diane Gerson was so innovative at IBM. She was the CHRO there. We worked together. We were doing inference of skills in 2009. 2009, we were doing inference of skills. In 2010, we introduced global video conferencing for our all-hands calls in 2010. It was before Zoom, before Blue Jeans. Remember Blue Jeans? Before all of this. So what I'm saying is, don't discard the potential of all these tools, but look at the tools within the context of your company and with the context of your purpose and intention. I think those come first. It's almost like the hypothesis. Come up with the hypothesis first. Get to know your people. then find the tools. I think that's the sequencing. But thank you for the question. Are we done? Oh, I think he's saying it because there's a lot of people. Do you have one more question? Oh, the last one.
Yeah.
So for a smaller organization, 100 or less, these strategies really are heavily financially involved. How would you break your strategy to get leadership ready, to get managers ready for this transformation that we're living today?
Oh, I love that. I work with the smaller companies. We need, by establishing that pause, the whole question about stop being reactive. So can we come together to discuss where we are, where do we believe we need to be tomorrow, and what is preventing us from get there? Because discussions with senior leaders that reduces the judgmental call, reduces the shame, the embarrassment, or the guilt of not being the best leaders in the world. You need to remove that. That's the psychological safety that we talked about. So small companies have to believe that psychological safety is going to be the ground where things can flourish. Then conversations with senior leaders. Where do you believe we need to go? Where do we believe we are? So it's about conversations distilling out what's important to us. You have more attrition than you should. I was talking to somebody who works in California. She has 30% attrition because the CEO decided that everybody had to be back at work. And she said that was her decision, nobody else's. So now the whole work is to convince her to understand that it's exactly that. Your ideas might be good for you because optimally it would be nice to have everybody at home. It's like family gatherings. If everybody get along, it would be nice to have everybody at once. But that's not reality. So now they're working backwards. So instead of getting to the backwards, you start encouraging senior leaders to see, we are going to be much more successful if we engage in design thinking. Let's think about the experience that we want for our employees. Is attrition a problem? Because you need to identify the problems. What might be the problem that you're facing as a 100-people company? Usually it's related to people. How can we increase the performance? How can we increase the engagement? It's about conversations. To be honest, it's not any of this. It's about conversations because it's skills. People can Google and find. Anything you need is online, and we can help each other find. It's not about money. Don't do any of these tools because everybody has a place to communicate. I think I would start with the connection, conversations, and then understanding leadership as you don't need to know everything, but can we identify ways in which you can be impactful? So it's about impact. Thank you so much, guys. This was a long one. Thank you.